So I'm just going to get straight in with the introductions. He is a former professional skateboarder from San Francisco who went on to start FTC Barcelona in 2010 and now works for MTV and does the Mission Statement podcast. Please welcome Lee Smith. Next up, a freelance writer based in New York and editor-at-large for Jenkem. Enough said, really. It's Kerr. Next, a skater, photographer, and social media marketer from Mexico, now based in Canada and collaborating with the Skate Witches and Skate Like a Girl. It's Norma Ibarra. He's an editor, photographer, and translator who grew up in Germany, is now based in Seoul, Korea, where he founded The Quiet Leaf, which is now in its 5th year. Please give it up for Jenkem. And lastly, he cut his teeth in skate journalism, working for Kingpin. And when that went online only, he co-founded Free Skate Mag, which is now the biggest, and some would say bestest, magazine for European skateboarding. Please give it up for Derrien. And joining them to chair this wonderful discussion, it is... Well, he was a regular contributor to Slap in the mid-90s, and now he's a writer, author, and content creator based in New York. Please welcome Anthony Pappalardo. And finally, she's a photographer, journalist, and director of Neon Stash. She's worked for Skateistan and had her work featured in Dazed, ID, Broadly, Hark, Sidewalk, Vice, to name a few. Please put your hands together for Hannah Bailey. That's your panel!
Wow, thanks for those introductions. I don't know how we can compete with that, really. That's a good energy to start it with. And thanks to you all for getting out of bed and making it here for the first panel on Friday morning. That's a good effort. Just so you know, this is the brutally honest skate journalism panel. And it's really exciting. Thanks to Pushing Borders for having me here and letting me sit on this seat next to Anthony. Really honoured to be in this position. It's pretty mad, actually. And together with the people on the panel here that we put together with in mind that we really wanted to think about the current and the new and current media within skate journalism. These guys and girls here are currently lending their voice to what skateboarding is right now. So this is going to be a really interesting discussion, and we've got some exciting points to bring up. Over to you, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you all for coming, and thanks for having me back. I want to just take a brief moment for us to think about, just as a community, a global community, how much has changed since the last time we got together, and unfortunately that we've lost people since then. And I bring that up and I honor those people because they're a part of skate history, and when we lose them, we lose their stories, we lose their knowledge. And it's our job to preserve them, to preserve the present, and to come up with a way to incorporate everyone's voice and story and tell this story, because skateboarding is unique in the sense that, and we don't need to say whether it's an art, a sport, an activity, it's a lifestyle. And we get to document it. You know, LeBron James doesn't get to document himself. It's much different. Artists don't get to document themselves. They make the work, critics react to it. We have more of an exchange and we have more of a care about this culture. And so I think the idea behind this and what we're doing here is to be more inclusive, more creative, more respectful of what we're doing, and understand the reach of what we're doing. And hopefully through that, it leads us to new places, and it also gives us the space to honor what's already happened. And now we're going to get started.
We feel that there's a lot of diversity on the panel and diverse voices and kind of conversations to get through. And we kind of want to start it in a place to, when we say media, when we say journalism, I think there's a lot of different things that pop into people's heads. Maybe it's like traditional media, what that is. What's new media? Is it social media? Is it TV? There's all these different interpretations and your own minds out there. So really we wanted to hand it over to the panel to start with, and for them to explain how they sit within the scope of skateboard journalism, and that will help us understand better what skate journalism actually is currently. So we're going to hand it over to you, first of all, Norma, to say what it is you do within the world of skate journalism and skate media.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to thank everyone who gave me the opportunity to be here. It's really special, and I'm really honored. I'm originally from Mexico, and I've been a photographer for a while, but starting with skateboarding photographer around 4 years ago when I started skateboarding myself at the age of 31. Been a tough thing, like a couple of fractures here and there, but that's a different story. But when I started skateboarding, I noticed that there wasn't anyone documenting my friends, which was mostly girls, you know, so I was like, I'm already a photographer, like, I need to document this. This is amazing. Look at what all my friends are doing. So I just started taking photos of my friends and slowly developing these relationships with the women community in Canada. And slowly I started volunteering for organizations like Skate Like a Girl, and then I met Skate Witches, which I work with really close now, and that's basically how I started. So my focus has been photographing, started with my friends, but now I have this focus on documenting non-traditional skaters, female skaters, queer community, and just, you know, the smaller communities out there. Every time I look at a magazine, I want to see a girl, I want to see a queer skater, I want to see a DIY builder, you know, like, we all want to see the gnarly stuff, but I also think that I can help showcasing stories that we don't get to see all the time, so that's kind of what I've been doing. So mainly with nonprofits and like smaller communities like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Christian?
Sure. Just first, thank you all for including me. I'm incredibly humbled to be here addressing all of you who are doing brilliant things and to be on this panel with other people who are doing amazing work. And a little personal background to sort of set the stage for how I got into skateboarding journalism. And I grew up in Alabama, which is a state in the deep south, about as far removed from the epicenter of the California skate scene as you could really get. And so magazines and skateboard videos were my window into this culture, as they were, I'm sure, for a lot of you. And I remember one time I had a subscription to Transworld, and my dad, who was a voracious kind of news reader, New Yorker, New York Times, these kind of things, was flipping through it and commented, "What is this? It's all ads." And that's, to me, what skate journalism was at the beginning. You know, the ads were the content. And it was a way in which to kind of inform the public to make an educated decision of what brands to make, of how to spend their money. And that was the extent of skate journalism as I knew it for so long. And then fast forward to 2013, when I had the opportunity to start working for Jenkem magazine, which was started in 2011 as kind of an outsider's perspective on the skate industry. They pushed a lot of conversations forward, and they kind of hit the highbrow with essays from people like Kyle Beachy, and hit the lowbrow with interviews with people like Jeremy Rogers. And I found that really fascinating. It had echoes of Big Brother magazine, which I was a huge fan of, not because it was so much progressive, but rather it was transgressive. It kind of, often problematically, but pushed skateboarding in a way in which it needed to be pushed, I think. And that's something that I'm kind of proud to have continued with Jenkem, to highlight a lot of good voices. And though we started out on the web, we've kind of grown into something else. We have some more tangible publications now. We have 2 books, record labels, and just not too bad for a publication that's named after a fictional drug of fermented human waste. So.
Great, thanks, Christian. And Lee, maybe you can take over there.
How's it going? You guys hear me good? How's it going, guys? Yeah, thank you for having me as well. Very happy to be here. I feel like I'm the old guy on the panel, so I've been around the block for a while, skating for about 30 years now. Was a pro skater, did that whole thing, and then coming out of that, you kind of have to figure out what you're gonna do when it's over. And I ended up in New York. I call New York the place where old skaters go to die. And so I ended up in New York and just trying to kind of figure out life and see where I could take it from there. Did a bunch of jobs. Ended up, now I work for MTV, which is cool. I do television production, and I found myself taking the train every day to work and listening to podcasts. A lot of hip-hop podcasts because I'm a hip-hop head, so listen to a lot of podcasts and, doing the mundane life, taking the train to work, taking the train home, eating dinner, repeat. Next thing you know, 5 years go by. And I felt myself kind of like drifting away from skateboarding, and that kind of hurt me a little bit, I felt myself, and so I was like, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I want to connect with human beings, and I want to bring myself back to skateboarding. So that's what motivated me to do what I do now and to create the podcast that I have, which is called The Mission Statement. So yeah, I'm actually obsessed with human beings, and I'm obsessed with the human experience. So my podcast is about connecting with people on a deeper level, and as much as I love skateboarding, talking about skateboarding to me is actually pretty boring. So when they come on the show, I try to connect with them and talk to them about the way they feel, the way they think, how they got to the places that they are in life emotionally, spiritually, and things of that nature. And some skaters are harder to crack than others. Sometimes it feels like work, sometimes it's fun, and yeah, that's what I do at the moment, and it's been a good ride. We've been doing the podcast for about a year, and just gonna keep banging them out. So again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you, Lee, and great to have you from the audio point of view. It's such an interesting one to talk about and bring onto the kind of media stage as audio podcasts, and I enjoy listening to them. And to go to the other side of the world, we've got Jen over there.
Hello, hi. Can you hear me? Thank you for having me. Hello, can I borrow a mic? Great start. Yeah, just a quick hello. Jin from Seoul, very excited, not nervous at all. And no, if we talk about skate journalism, I think The Quiet Leaf is a bit detached from that traditional sense. It's driven by a lot of, let's say, curiosity. I feel very close to what Lee does with his thing. We always hear skaters' names, and I'm always curious about who's the person behind that name. We know he does crazy kickback tails and stuff, but maybe he's also a creative person or just a dad or whatever, And because in Korea, the skate scene in Korea is very the social aspect is I'm not nervous at all. No, it's very uniform, and it's very strict in Korea. Everything is very strict, and so it's hard to commit for kids. It's hard for kids to commit to skateboarding, which you have to do to get better. And so I want to see, because I moved from Germany to Korea, and got to know that scene, and then I got curious about all the other scenes in all the other places that are not California or no offense, like not America or And so my point of view is probably more of a reporter thing than hard-hitted critical journalism. That's where I come from, I think. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Hello. Oh, this is scary. Okay, so maybe before getting into this, I just want to thank Pushing Borders for everything they've done for the past 2 days and what they did last year. Not so much what they've done for skateboarding, but for me specifically, because if you're running a skateboard magazine 24/7, it's really easy to get too caught up in your own shit and not to look at what other people are doing and not to take a step back. And I don't know, I think it's really important to have a chance to say, okay, we're accessible, we're just human beings. If you want to come and talk to us, pitch ideas, we're just three white men that talk about skateboarding way too much and hang out with each other way too much. So we desperately need you guys. And so, yeah, I'm just here to learn. So yeah, that's the first thing. And then the second thing I wanted to say is that I wasn't originally meant to be on this panel, and I kind of invited myself. So what happened is I got sent an email with a description of all the panels, and I read this: brutally honest skate journalism. As established print outlets fall and internet-based publications rise, space opens for new voices to define what skateboarding is. And I was like, well, actually, if I look around in Europe, there's way more good print magazines than ever, and they all have very distinctive voices, and they're all doing really well. Vague, Solo, Place, Grey, they're all killing it. And so I didn't think it represented the current state of skateboard media, at least where I am. And so I kind of sent an email to Theo, which probably pissed him off quite a bit because he was at the height of the stress for organizing this whole thing. And I explained all this, and one of the examples I used was Carl Beechey's Primitive Progressivism piece that, for those of you that haven't read it, is basically calling out the disgusting words and actions of Jason Jesse, but also the system and industry that allowed him to re-become an icon despite everyone sort of knowing the kind of person he was. And this piece, before us running it, was offered to 2 different publications that are online, and they didn't run it. And my guess is that they didn't run it because Converse is Jason Jesse's sponsor, and that Converse was one of their few big advertisers or supporters of the magazine. The reason why we could run it is that we're now established enough to afford to lose a big advertiser if it came to it, if we really pissed them off by publishing something like this. So the whole model of small, independent online is the only way to be progressive and speak the truth, well, it's very romantic, but it doesn't really represent things, at least in Europe, for me. The only reason we're now in a position to call out Street League for trying to market knives to kids in London, or, I don't know, talk about, like, addiction in a brutally honest way, skateboarders crying on the way to their like coke dealers, even though they skate for brands that advertise in our mag, is because we're now in a solid enough position that we're in a solid enough position that people won't call us out, won't try and pull the ads, or it'll be a bad look for them, basically. So yeah, that's it.
So as we get into this next section, I want to build off what was just said. I think we talk about the media in our daily lives, not just skate media, just the media. We blame the media for things. I don't think the average person understands what the media is or how it works. And sometimes we don't understand how much goes into something. And that could be back and forth with an interview you've done because you want to make sure you frame someone in the right way, or fact-checking something because, as we all know in skateboarding, facts are pretty loose. I mean, we don't even have a record of who did every trick. You know, it's a new culture, and there's not even a definitive book. So as we think about the traditional role in skateboarding, I'm going to boil down this history super quick so we can hear from more interesting people. Kind of the main 2 magazines in North America that drove the industry for so long were created by companies that sold trucks. So the crux of this was, as Christian kind of alluded to before, advertisement. And you had reportage, you had, you know, this guy or girl came in first in a contest, and maybe an obligatory tour article, and in Thrasher sometimes recipes, which was really fucking weird. But anyways, and these were kind of big magazines that gave a narrow view because of just how how they were established and what they were trying to do and the barrier of entry to get in as far as advertising money. So as we look now, I think free is an example of thriving print. Transworld, unfortunately, which we lost, is dying print. And there's all these spaces that open up. So there's different ad streams, there's different audiences. And I think when we say media, we're all responsible for how we present things. So a podcast is media, your YouTube channel is media, and how it can affect people is profound. So there's all these spaces, we could leave here and 20 more examples, success stories of free could start, or anything on, anything on this stage. So I think we want to give you more visibility into what media actually means in the inner workings. And I think maybe it'd be cool for Christian to speak on kind of where Arthur left off regarding the last issue of what goes in the mag, how does advertorial work? Are you familiar with advertorial? How much of what you see is driven by a brand versus how much is driven by someone who is freely speaking about what's in front of them?
Hello. I think in skateboarding, in skate media, it's an industry that's based on both ads and access. So you need access to certain skaters that will appeal to the audience that you're trying to reach. So there's two kinds of currency here. That means there's cash and there's social capital. And the social capital that you create helps you get the cash, helps you get advertisers interested in contributing money that hopefully can lead to more groundbreaking and independent stories. And so Jenkem right now makes about 60–70% of its income from advertisers. And then we make 20% from products that we sell and another 20% from event production. And something that we're working really hard on trying to do is to mitigate our reliance on skateboard sponsors so that we have more freedom to discuss the things that we should be covering, such as the Jason Jesse story. Yeah. But even with this current model as it's set up, only about 1/10 of what we publish is created to appease the brands that we work with. So what we're doing is we're taking this cash that we're getting from Converse, from Levi's, from other partners that we work with, and putting that towards trying to cover stories that we're interested in, trying to give a platform to people like Norma, to the skate witches, to just badass people who are doing cool shit in skateboarding. And hopefully we can do more of that, and the less we have to rely on skateboarding advertisers, I think the more freedom we have to do those kind of things.
Yeah, Arthur, did you want to say something quick there?
Hello? Oh yeah, it does work. It was just to bounce off what he just said about the social capital thing, because for us at least, it's definitely true. A lot of what we do relies on trust, and we were speaking about this yesterday. The reason we get the interviews we get, or the reason anyone even wants to be in the magazine, is just because they trust that we aren't going to make them look bad, and that we're not going to fuck them, boy them off, or they trust that the photos we pick are going to be the photos they want to be in there. And that's almost the most important thing, because I'm not a writer. I'm definitely not. I don't know. I've never run a magazine before. I don't know what I'm doing, but people trust me, so it's kind of the only reason I'm here.
Norma, coming into skateboarding later when you did, how did you actually establish that trust and end up in the crew that you're with and start to work with brands? Because, like you said, you already had the technical background to document things, but as we all know, a skate park isn't always the most friendly place, and the streets aren't the most friendly place. Finding, compatriots to be able to foster something, I'm really interested to hear kind of a bit of that journey.
Hello. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Well, in my case, people always come to me and oh, how did you do it? And well, I had this like interest in documenting it, but I think the key for me was that I found a community that I related to, and I found people who wanted to look at my work and my photos and wanted other people to look at them. In this case, nonprofits like Skate Like a Girl and Skate Witches came up to me and we started hanging out and they were like, hey, you should send me photos to our scene. Like we're always looking for, more content, like non-traditional girl photos. So I slowly started developing that, and like I had really good mentors, but I always share this with everyone. All the gigs and the jobs that I gotten since I moved to Canada, I gotten them through volunteering. Like I actually haven't really applied for a job since I moved to Canada, which I always try to give this advice because my mentors in Canada, when I moved to Canada, I started from scratch. I was already a photographer and I was already started marketing and advertising, but I had no Canadian experience. So the way I did it, was I started volunteering. Like I just came up to nonprofits and I was like, hey, like I would love to help. Like I need, like how can I help? And at the beginning, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Like I basically tried a little bit of everything, like content on the website, social media, and photography and video. So I was doing a little bit of everything, and then slowly I developed like a niche. So in my case, like I'm doing it for the love, but it's slowly like being involved with like people like Skate Like a Girl and Skate Witches had brought me here. Like I'm here thanks to all those mentors who gave me tips, like even the skaters. Like I consider my skate friends my mentors because I was learning how to skate as I was learning how to shoot, or like what's the name of that trick? What's the best angle? Like what time should I take the shot? So like it was challenging, but I think the key was putting myself out there, being vulnerable, and not being scared of failing and asking questions. But I really have to thank my mentors, like Kim Woosie from Mafia, like also like people who wanted to showcase my work despite that I was a newbie. And like maybe, I took a shot of backside Smith grind, but at that time I didn't know it was called that way. But like they didn't care about that. They cared about like I got the shot and like I'm showcasing someone that it's important to showcase, And with Skate Witches, sorry. What I love about is that sometimes, like the stuff that we showcase, it doesn't necessarily has to be the biggest trick, but it's a really cool photo, or it's a very interesting story that we want to share. And it's not just about girls. We also have a boys on board section. So Kristen interviewed guys, and like, she asks funny questions like girls usually get asked. So I recommend you guys having a look. It's pretty funny sometimes. And so it's really cool. Like I felt included. Like it didn't matter that I was not an early skater to be part of it. So that's what that allowed me to feel comfortable in being involved. So I think that's really important. So inclusion, mentorship, vulnerability, and just like putting yourself out there.
Yeah, totally agree, Norma. And of course, I'm interested to ask you 1,000,001 questions, but I don't want to make it one-sided. But just to ask you a quick question before we go over to you, Jen. I was just interested if, like, as your profile grows and as your experience and your coverage within skate media, are you finding it a friendly place to reach out to core skate mags with your content? Do you see that they are receptive to content of women in skate?
It's been, at the beginning, it was really, really hard. So I just stuck with the people who wanted to work with me. But slowly, I feel like in the last year, pretty much, or in a year and a half, I feel like now everyone is like, we want the girl content. You have girl content, right? Like, so now they realize that there's different angles. Some people genuinely want to showcase the stories, but other people think it's marketable. So now they're like, oh, we need girl content. And so it depends. That it's true. Like it depends who you're talking to. So there's different situations where I've been part of where some people genuinely want to showcase the stories. Other people know it's valuable for their brand, therefore they need it. So it depends. I've been through different situations, like where, for example, at the beginning, I've been kicked out of events for shorting on deck. And I was like, why? Like, why? What's the reason why I cannot be here? There have been situations where people have been like, do we need to pay her? Or there's been situations where they hire me as a skate photographer, but they wanted me to shoot someone who just wanna pose with their board and has like thousands and thousands of followers, but cannot push. So I have to speak up, and that's one of the hardest situations I had when like I got hired as a skate photographer, but when I got there, it was a lot of people who didn't know how to skate. They had boards, but they didn't do any tricks. So I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, there was even no hate on this, but there was even a longboarder. So I didn't know what to do, and I reached out to my mentors, and I was like, this is happening. Like, I don't think I can do this. Like, and I was scared to lose the gig because I wanted to do the gig. So at the end, I spoke up, and luckily, like, they listened, and we changed the whole campaign, and it worked out. So it's hard sometimes to speak up because as a woman, and like I consider a newbie still in this community. Like, it's been about 4 years. It's hard because when you get the opportunity, you're just happy to be here. You're happy that people want to work with you, and sometimes it's hard for you to be like, hey, like, I deserve more, or like, this should be this way, because you don't want to miss the opportunity. But I think there's a reason why I'm here, and I'm trying to understand that I might have to do it. Like, even though it might be a little of a struggle, and I might lose the gig, I'm representing my close community, and if I can help them, I will fight for it.
It's so important. The documentarians of skateboarding, and not just women's skateboarding, is so important because it's going to show what skateboarding is to not just how we see it, but to the external audience as well. So I think it's so worth like sticking for how you believe in how it should be. And yeah, big shout out to Skate Witches and Mafia, Girl Skate Network, all of the amazing platforms that have been created to show what women's skateboarding is. And it's just infiltrating all of skate journalism now, and I hope that's what's exciting about Pushing Borders as well, is it brings together the whole scene to say, Arthur, yesterday, I remember you just saying, oh, we'd love more women's content, like, give us an email. I was like, give Arthur an email, everyone.
Hello? yeah, that's basically, the situation right now is every time we ask for photos for the gallery, we probably get sent about 200 photos. We're lucky if one of them is a photo of a girl skating. So, given we're in this situation, what do we do? The first and easiest thing is come to events like these and show that we're accessible, show that we want, like, the magazine will only be better if it's more diverse. It's like so obvious. So just come speak to us. I'll give you my email, and we'll like start working on something. And the other thing is, I guess, trying to link the right photographers and the right filmers with the girls that are out there killing it, because a lot of the time the problem we have is that skateboarding is almost as much about the tricks you do and how you do them as how it's documented, and that's something we really struggle with when we get sent girls' content. So we've been trying to do that more, but yeah, it's hard.
Great to hear.
Yep. So, like, when a brand, if you feel they're not being genuine, how does that make you feel? Do you still want to like work with them, or? I mean,
no.
not to put you on not to put you on the spot, but do you suck it up and say, okay, maybe I should get the money, or what's your principles come first? No?
To be honest, like, I'm not getting any money like right now, but like I've been focusing on working with the people who value it, and like I think I just want to work with people who want to make an impact, and like people who care, and like I haven't worked with brands that much. I think this year I slowly been involved with a couple of projects, but so I'm open right now, like and if my role is gonna be to educate as well, I'm happy to do, like if I have to, because you could maybe they have this idea in their minds, but if I don't like it and if I can get feedback to actually make it a rad thing, well, I'll go for it.
I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because we keep talking about brands, and I feel like it's starting to slide into a negative light, and we sometimes lose sight that these brands provide the fuel for voices and enable people to be able to do this thing and to grow the community. And you think of a campaign where you see, whether it's Lazy Baker or Nora, it on a billboard in Times Square, that's pretty powerful. And so in working with these brands, oftentimes, my goal when I'm working directly with a brand is I'm only going to do it because I want to make the person look good. So I want to do whatever I can to get them in a position to look good, because otherwise I wouldn't do it. If I'm going to try to make someone look bad, it's because I've identified something that I see as an inconsistency, a graphic that offends me, some type of language that's being used, an advertisement. Then that's a little more of an op-ed or something, right? But if I'm working with a brand, because they're giving me access to someone who's committed their lives to skateboarding and they're getting paid, and I'm not mad at that, and I want to make them look good. In that sense, I think what Lee is doing is super interesting because he's just having a conversation without the mediator, right? Without the only access is that he has interest in this story and tells diverse stories on the podcast. So I'm kind of interested, like, what was it being in skateboarding so long and seeing these story arcs happen? Just experience of being on tour, people living with you, like what got you interested in that human condition that you felt like skateboarders were the good people to be this audience rather than like, oh wow, another comedian on a podcast. That's like super original.
I mean, this is my community, so I'm kind of like, kind of stuck with the skaters already. But yeah, there's so many amazing stories out there, and every time I hang out with like younger skaters, they always ask me like, "Oh man, tell me a Sean Sheffy story," or like, "Tell me, a Keenan Milton story." So I want those stories to be told, and that's basically just essentially what I'm trying to do, and get the stories from behind the scenes, not the ones that people all know about, and to try to showcase and show how these people got to where they are and the experiences that they live through in their personal lives, not on a skateboard, and that's all I want to show, and essentially that's it, and just kind of, it's pretty straightforward.
And you feel free to be honest with these conversations, open. You're not tied to a brand.
No, I'm not tied to anything. I can ask any question. It's up to them they cannot answer. And so I've had a few people that work for big brands that have said, I would love to come on your show. I have so much shit to say, but I can't say it. And so, and that's unfortunate, But as for me personally, I can say and do whatever I want at the moment. Let's see if the podcast grows. You will cross that bridge where maybe you might have to choose what's more important to you. So, I'll cross that bridge when it comes.
I think that's what a lot of the people that I have worked with did as well. Like, for example, Skate Witches, Mafia, when they created and founded all these outlets of media, it was because they couldn't find themselves in the current media back then. So they were like, they were looking for inspiration, but when they were looking at the magazines or the websites or whatever was out there, like what year did you started? 2014? Yeah, 2014. There wasn't inspiration for them to find in the current media. So that's why it was born. And like that's what keeps it cool, and that's what people love it, because they are showcasing those stories and they can say whatever they want because that's their way of communicating. So it's, you know, it's like special and it's just unique.
It's nice to keep it that size. Actually, Jen, we have quite a few questions for you, but did you want to say something about this particular?
I just wanted to say something because I haven't said anything in a while.
Well, actually, Jen, just to say first.
No, but I wanted
Are you still
to,
awake? You good?
Yeah, I wanted to say because we're on the side that on a similar page where we are very grateful for all the brands that support us, because we're such a small magazine, and I'm not Jason Dill or whoever who can do whatever he wants and still get supported. We still have to. Our relationship to brands is basically me on my knees and then asking for, hey, we have this going on, and they don't ask us to do a piece, a 50-page piece on somebody who is only in Europe. I choose to do that, and then it happens to be supported by a brand that he writes for. And I think that's really, really cool. The brands are, in my case, enabling me to do travels and to seek out people. And the harder part is really to get in touch with those guys. And it's easier for me in Europe than in America. And but there's also really cool people in Asia. So shout out to Asia, yeah.
I think it's really interesting with the Quiet Leaf. I don't know, I guess most people here have flicked through it, and it's an amazing piece of print, really beautiful. And the fact that you're covering stories all over the world, whether you're doing the UK edition, I just picked up the Dutch edition. I was trying to read it in Korean, Dutch, but could only make out English. How much pressure do you feel to cover the kind of the stuff, the Western skate stuff going on, and how much do you feel like you can just do your own stories? You're not tied to feeling like you have to cover that brand event or you have to go and travel for that particular event. How much is it to feel independent to what your idea is, your creativity?
I feel very free with that, and I think, I don't know, it depends on how you look at it. I think you guys have those big boy problems. I don't have those. So I'm really glad I can basically do whatever I want to do. And yeah, there's not much pressure. There's like questions come in and requests come in from brands, which is really cool. And they say, hey, can you do this for the next mag? And then I say, but the next mag is going to be about the Netherlands, so it wouldn't fit. And then they can't really give me any shit for that. And I'm out. No, but we do have the website, so we do stuff for brands on the website. Please click. We need more clicks. No, but yeah, we're very free, and it's a very personal, also a very personal choice who we want to cover or where we want to go with the next issue.
Sounds ideal, doesn't it? Paradise.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? When you're covering different countries, right? A really immersive process. What are the differences? Because I take for granted, because I'm from North America, so I see things through a different lens. But what's it like covering a place where skateboarding's only been maybe on a larger scale for 10 years? What are the differences in those experiences?
I think it's very exciting to see that and to learn more about local scenes. And it's not only just about skateboarding, like who's hot right now and who has the most followers and stuff, but just on a global level to go to a smaller place maybe and find out who's the mayor of this scene and who does this and that. And there are so many interesting stories that are not being told enough, I think. And it doesn't have to be, I don't know, some OG legend who does stuff or who has seen stuff, who has met stuff. It's just basically everyday people like you and I and all of us, basically. And the funny thing is, when I talk to bigger names, it turns out they're just the same. usually. Maybe even a bit more closed because they have only thought about skating their whole lives. But yeah, it's exciting to go to a new place and don't care about who did what happens to El Toro, or who's Lil Wayne, or how little is he, or it doesn't it doesn't really matter, you know? And because everyone can choose where to look and what to look up and who to talk to and what to take from it and where to take that. Yeah.
That's great. I think that's a good segue into our kind of next one, Jen. A good segue into our kind of next topic, where we're thinking about like serious journalism in a sense, or serious topics that we can bring to the table within skateboard media. And of course, this week at Pushing Borders, a big focus topic is mental health, and there's a whole list of other kind of serious topics that I think skateboarding could touch into, and maybe sometimes doesn't. But is there a place for it in skate journalism, or should skaters look to broader outlets to tell these broader stories? Christian, we'll go with you first.
I wanted to say something really quickly about the importance of working with brands. As skateboarding gets more and more co-opted by the mainstream, these brands are going to start seeing value in exploiting skateboarding. And if we aren't the ones taking control of the narrative, then it's going to be determined in corporate boardrooms by people who are just looking for profit, not necessarily looking to push the culture in a more positive direction. So I think it's pretty important that when brands reach out to you, that you take their money and you force them to understand the story that you want to tell about skateboarding. And to segue into the aspect of more serious journalism, I think it is kind of one of the most important things we can do, you know, because something we do as skateboard journalists is we tell stories. And, you know, there's a million different stories that we can tell about the origins of skateboarding. And, you know, some of them, unfortunately, center, like, really regressive figures like Jason Jesse or Jay Adams. And that's not the story that we have to tell, though. We can tell a story that focuses only on the contributions women have made in skateboarding, only on the contributions that the LGBTQ community has made to skateboarding, only on the contributions that the Latinx community has made to skateboarding. And I think by trying to tell these marginalized stories, we can rewrite our history in a more positive light.
I think you're, oh, sorry. I mean, everyone in this room understands this. What's the crux of skateboarding, right? Destruction and frustration. Like, everyone here has battled a trick, and it's so mentally draining, right? So we're attracted inherently to this thing that destroys us. It hurts our bodies, hurts our minds. And so it's not surprising to me in this culture, like, if you guys could really be honest, anyone in here, like, knows someone in skateboarding that struggles with mental health? Raise your hand, please. So that's the entire room, correct? I think that's a really interesting path that we need to explore more, because one, it's a service to us. So it's a preventative thing, right? If we can prevent the next Baker Boy arc, right? It doesn't have to happen. You don't have to crash to get wisdom, right? Like, if we can prevent that and we can make people feel, but be more advocates to each other in every way. I think that's, if we can do that through media channels and you know, from the bottom up, from how we communicate to each other, you know, even a comment that you leave on someone's Instagram could be very damning to them, you know? And we're skateboarders, right? We analyze how everything looks. That guy's arm looks weird. Well, that's kind of not that cool. That's his arm, you know? I think I'd like to go through and kind of ask these questions, but especially in speaking to destructive elements and mental health journeys, I think Lee has a lot of insight personally, you know?
I mean, this is something that I try to talk about on the show a lot, and I've tried to talk about it through various interviews. You know, you grow up in San Francisco, and the culture is drink a lot of beers, skate, get fucked up, and then people die, and it's a very destructive lifestyle. You know what I mean? But while it's happening, nobody says anything. Everybody's like promoting it basically and pushing it, and they're like, yeah, you fucking girl, you know? And then once that person passes away, there's the Instagram posts and the RIPs and all that, but there was no preventative measures to try to help these people who are clearly suffering. And I've felt pretty depressed in my life, and happiness, I was talking to it with Brian Anderson on the show. For me, happiness is something that you don't just wake up every day and feel happy. Like, you have to set small goals for yourself to be able to, to feel happy and to feel like your life has value. And there was a time in my life where I drank I skated and I drank like a 12-pack every day and woke up at 1 o'clock and was like, why do I feel like shit? And nobody ever tells you like, hey man, maybe you should exercise a little more, stretch, go to sleep earlier, get more, all those things. And so mental health for me is, it's a big thing, and lots of skaters, unfortunately, have passed away. I think Rattray said it best yesterday, where it's like a lot of people are killing themselves slowly, whether they know it or not. I see it, unfortunately, a lot in New York, And so I feel this is an issue that's very, very big to me, and it's deep because, we lost people like Keenan Milton, and he was battling a lot of demons, that people don't know about. And it's something that definitely needs to be talked about. It needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed before the person dies, basically. And that's it.
I'd like to say that I think we as media, as small as we are or as big as we are, I think one other role, additionally to addressing all those darker themes, is I'm a big fan of good news and just leading by example. So I think another role that we have is maybe what you addressed earlier, what you said earlier, the positivity, the good stuff. And I don't know, we can ask all these questions, but I think it's also important that we seek out those guys who do clean up after they're finished with the spot. Or we hang out with more guys and say, I like grammar, or, I think it's very important that different type of bravery, maybe, and
showcasing positive. Basically just showcasing positivity as a whole. Yeah. I mean, completely agree.
I think it's the hardest thing for us, especially, is we're constantly in limbo between showcasing interesting skating, because it has to be documented somewhere. You can't just only focus on the stories, and then finding people that are either going to have a really positive message or important, like darker stories that you can draw from. But yeah, not everyone's Ryan Lay or Chris Jones or going around the world doing great stuff. And it's like, do you not show their skating because of that? It's constant compromise, and it's kind of difficult for us, at least.
I wanted to ask, specifically, you have a formed voice, right? Like, there's a POV to the mag. So how would you approach expanding diversity, or kind of what goes in and out more than, inviting the voices? That's amazing. But what's something that doesn't fit? You know what I mean? Is it that much of an open platform? Does that make sense?
Well, as in what kind of stuff would we turn down?
Yeah, if I pitched you a story about a microbiologist skater who wasn't that good, it's kind of interesting, it's kind of whack. Or is it?
I mean, I don't know. It kind of depends how good he is at talking about microbiology. I don't know. Fuck it. If he can make that interesting, I'm down to check it out. But he's gonna have to be pretty good at telling that story. If he's shit at skating as well, it's not going to cut it otherwise.
I think maybe, Anthony, you should probably pitch that to another magazine.
Yeah.
And isn't that part of it, is that there isn't just one media outlet. It's great. The media outlets are growing. The landscape is growing.
Yeah, it's such a good time for it.
It's such a good time. And, you know, free skate, you've got a great audience, you've got an engaged audience. Maybe they don't want to know about the microbiologist, but it's interesting to know if, like, you know, there could be deeper conversations that are brought in to the skaters that you're interviewing. And I guess that comes down to, like, how you interview them as well, what questions you're asking them, what you want to know, what you want to write about them. Is it just about the tricks? Is it more than that?
This is an open question for the panel, so anyone who wants to answer this can jump in. And if we don't get an answer, then we'll go to the crowd. How about that? But we're doing, there's a lot of incredible things happening, and when people don't have a voice, what they do is form their own voice, and that catches on with people, and we have all these amazing things that get fragmented. So how do we help each other and learn each other and make sure we don't get too siloed where it's just like one type of thing here, one type of thing here, one type of thing here, and it gets so disconnected that we forget that we all share a thread as human beings, first of all. But, you know, what are some ways we can help each other? Is it just communication, or, you know, giving each other opportunity? Like what's the best way to kind of weave these stories together?
I think finding ways of collaboration instead of being competitive when it comes to even like media outlets and community groups, because I feel everyone has a story to tell, and we all had a moment in our life where we have learned something that can be applied to skateboarding, or when we're skateboarding, we learn something that we can apply to life. So to me, I feel like everyone has a story to tell, despite where they're from, what they look, and what their level of skating is. So like, there's, you know, the sky is the limit. Like, there's a lot we can share with each other. It's just a matter of learning to collaborate, because I'm here because I was invited to collaborate. Like, I'm here because I was included, and that gave me the confidence to do what I do. So collaboration, it's key. And like, just like this event, like, I feel like this is a good opportunity for all of us to meet and discuss. Like, right now we're discussing in these panels, but then after, what's next? Like, right now we are learning and we're sharing, but now from here, what are the next steps? Like, we as media, what are we gonna do with all these things that we're learning this week? Apply them in action. So learning and collaborating, and then taking it to an action.
And I think another thing that definitely, and on the communication side, I think as a reader too, any of us, I think it's important to form tastes and preferences, but allow and respect other voices. So I don't know if you've watched Misled Youth and Mouse at the same time, you can have a preference, but they're both super good, right? And it just, the question is, you don't have to wear a Zero t-shirt for the rest of your life. You can go to your mates and say, yeah, you know what? Kino was really good too. I think it's really, I don't know if the kids these days can do that, you know, they have to belong somewhere and be accepted somewhere. But I think if we all a little bit more courageous and say, yeah, it's okay, it's fine. I like that too, and I dislike that, and it's, you know, I think that's very important too.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say about the power of the audience as well, and everyone here, is that, like, if we want skate journalism to exist and these media platforms exist, is to use your clicking power, or use your buying power to support the magazines, because it's all too easy to be like, oh, I can't believe that magazine stopped. It's like, did you ever buy it? Oh, no, I never bought it. How many times has that happened in the past year? It's like, if you're in a shop and you see the Quiet Life, if you want to pick up a copy of Free Skate, if you want to click and listen to the podcast, of course, you've got to be interested in it. But I think we all are. And I think there's so much importance in that. And sometimes we can be really lazy as an audience because there's a lot of shit out there. There's a lot of content. How do you know what to look at? Well, I think looking at this type of journalism is so important, and your click goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah. A big thing, what we're saying, Norma touched on, is the idea of mentorship, and that doesn't even have to be face-to-face. You know, I get communications all the time from people, and I try to help them. I'm not in here to compete. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to do a better article than you. I want to read your better article, right? I want to learn from you. I want to read other people's work and be inspired by it and be like, I never thought to tell a story that way. So mentorship is, I think, just synonymous with us trying to guide each other and come up with the best way to tell our story. Again, because, and to tie back to what Christian said, there's going to be a lot of storytelling around us, whether you like it or not, in the next year. So we control this narrative. Yeah, when your mom or dad sends you a really corny article in the New York Times, you can't control that, but you can delete it. But we can understand, you know, how everyone here could start something that becomes the next thing, or can just do something fun on their own that resonates with someone and maybe just causes some good. That's really it.
Yeah, just piggybacking off that a little bit, I think it's incredibly important to have a multiplicity of voices out there. Because Jenkem started because there was a hole in skate media at the time. The industry was taking itself too seriously. We wanted to kind of poke fun at it. But Jenkem can't do everything. We have limited resources. We also have a limited perspective in our editor's room. So if there's something that we're not covering well enough, reach out to us. Let us know that. Hold us accountable to these things. And if we are not listening, start your own thing. Because the more publications we have out there, the more voices that are out there, the better the song of skateboarding is going to sound, I think.
To recap, send him more places, guys. Guys, girls, brands, everyone. Send more pitches over there. Give him more views so he can monetize. Pay her. No more free work. And Christian just spoke. And now we want to hear from you guys because probably really sick of us now.
You were going to go to the Q&A. Just a quick shout out for Skatism as well, which is a great platform for diversity in skateboarding. So,
Cool. Okay, questions?
We grab another right there, first hand.
Third row.
Hi. Super panel. Thank you so much. Really, really good. I think it's half a question, half a comment. But one of the things that you touched upon is a sort of pressure from, particularly you were talking about advertisers in terms of possibly dictating content or not. But actually, one of the things I was, maybe last year or something, I was working on writing a piece on the objectification of women in skateboarding for free. I worked on it for a couple of months. I kind of got really stressed in the end, and I basically got this piece, but I said, don't publish anything, because I'm not happy with it and I'm worried. And within that process, it was, I was trying to like speak to someone like the Monster girls and stuff, and then Monster ended up sending me threatening messages saying to stop contacting their girls, and it was just weird. And the whole thing just got really stressful. Anyway, it turns out that particular girl was on Love Island, for some of you might watch. It was very strange. Anyhow, but actually the reason in the end I was concerned about anything being published was not pressure from advertisers or Monster Girls or whoever, because I don't work for anyone. I'm independent. I don't care. I have no sponsors. I was worried about what you guys would think. I was really stressed that because it's quite an important thing, I think, to talk about, and I was really ended up just being too stressed about what you would think, and what everyone would think. And I thought, that's what was worrying me. It wasn't anyone else. So I think we've also got a collective kind of responsibility to, we're saying we need more voices, we need more stuff, let's talk about it. But the reality is that you publish something and then you get shit for it if, people think differently. And I'm not strong enough to stand up and say, no, I'm legit, like, this is what I think. I'm allowed to, I'd like to think so. The reality, I'd just crumble under my, like, Instagram comments and cry at my DMs. Like, that's the reality of it. So I guess it's more of a comment, but, I think we've got that responsibility. Forget about what brands and ads and whatever people think, but I was worried about what you guys would think, and therefore I wrote this thing that never got published.
All right, I can give some really good advice about this.
Thanks.
I get shit all the time. I get back and forth, right, from the editors, from the audience, and comments ranging from, like, you're an imposter, to, like, you're this, you're that. Like, that's going to happen. I think about it this way. If someone wrote the best song in the world and never put it out, we wouldn't get to enjoy it. So you just have to do it. And the first one's hard. It's hard. I get embarrassed when I'm wrong. Like, I have to read things that I'm like, oh, my God, like, grammatically it's wrong. It had the wrong sentiment. People got the wrong feeling out of it. Like, I wrote this piece about offensive skate graphics, and I think through the different iterations, it lost its soul, and it came out. It didn't have the intention I had, and I took it personally. And I had to be like, don't read the comments. It is what it is, and move on to the next thing and learn from it, And maybe next time be like, no, this is how it runs, or this is how it doesn't run. So, number one, it's courageous for you alone to just not be happy and walk away from something you put a lot of time into. But I would also say, putting yourself out there and just having the courage to do it, you don't have to stand behind it. It's just this cathartic thing that you do, and know that it's not the last thing you ever did, right? It's not the, this is it. This is my definitive thing. It's something you build off, and understand that you're going to. I'm going to use a cliche because I'm too jet lagged to come up with better language right now. You're going to be the worst self-editor. You're going to be the hardest on yourself. No comment. There's not going to be a comment that, like, drills into your psyche that all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm going to need therapy because, skateboard 508 strung some emojis together that really hurt. It's not going to happen. So, again, I just think it goes back to what I said, like the repetition. Like, you're not going to get good in skateboarding unless you're repetitive until you repeat it, until you build that muscle. So you build the writing muscle, you build the analytics, you build the resistance to listen to people be really brutal and talk shit and not even, they're going to throw this one at you. Oh, you call yourself a writer? Well, yeah, I do, because I just did it and you're a dork commenter. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. We should go on to the next, but, like, do more. Like, we want to hear it.
I mean, me personally, for writing, I know it's something that you guys really take seriously to heart, but I just don't even look at comments. Like, I just take the positive feedback that I'm given personally, and I work off that.
I would love to read that article. So please do publish it, and just try and remember that oftentimes it's the most backward and idiotic people that are the most vocal, and you may not know the impact that something that you publish has on someone by just reading the comments. But I think that oftentimes, when you take a chance like that, you can really make a valuable impact on someone who, may not write that down in the comment section because they're already crowded out by all the people who have talked shit about whatever. And, just speaking from personal experience, anytime I write an article where I kind of put myself out there and, I can't help but read the comments. And when I see that I'm being called, an SJW, and, which I am, and, or a snowflake, which I don't really understand why is a diss, because snowflakes are unique and beautiful, It hurts, though. But I try and take that with a grain of salt and just understand the good that you would be doing by publishing something like that.
Hello. Oh, okay. Yeah, one thing I was going to add as well is that you get used to it, and that after a while, it shifts to actually your biggest worry being if you're working with a skater on something, is the skater going to be happy? Because most of the time, what we're doing involves our friends, and if you're interviewing someone and then you have to like walk down in your pants to take a shower, and he's in the kitchen, and you know that he's super bummed on his interview, that really hurts more than anything, more than any Instagram comment. So yeah, I don't know, just want to say that. Is that ridiculous? I don't know.
Also to you, I think just remember that there's assholes everywhere, probably everywhere. But remember that the majority of people who work in skateboarding are really cool people, I think. And more often than not, when you feel insecure about sending something off that you wrote, that you worked your ass off for, it's going to be received by people that really, really want to hear this. And the majority of people really are going to care. And sure, you can step into shit while you walk down the street and get somebody on the other hand who opens the email and doesn't really care. But that's happening everywhere, I think. Just remember there's really, really cool people everywhere, too.
Are you picking Hannah or shall I?
Well, how about just to your right there? Just pop the microphone down, perfect.
Hello. To everyone that still makes something physical, I just want to know, why do you even bother? Like, you don't need to really anymore. There's no need for it, so why do you still continue to make it?
I do not agree with that. Whenever I take a photo and the skater is like, when are you going to send it to me? I want to post it. I'm like, just give me some time. I'm going to try to get this photo published somewhere. Doesn't matter where, but I want this to be tangible. Why? Because Instagram, I don't want, this is history. This is something, when we're not here, whatever is tangible, that's what people are going to look at when we're not here. And like, it's very important that it's still tangible, because Instagram maybe it's going to be in the limbo one day, or like we have this massive nature disaster and like internet crashes and everything get lost. Like, I'm sure some of you have lost a hard drive and lost all your information at some point. So this is what probably could happen in the internet. So to me, this is history. Like, we are documenting history right now. So it's very important that print is still alive. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I see the value in print. I think print is not dead. Hashtag that. And Jen, like, I'm glad that you made the Quiet Leaf, so I have that on my coffee table. I'm going to keep that. It's a keeper. Same with Freeskate. But how do you feel about that question? What have you guys got over there with your magazines?
I mean, the reason we started Free Skate Mag is because Kingpin decided to go completely online, or their corporate publishers did, and they didn't really understand the value of print in skateboarding. And so that's the whole reason we started it. It's because skateboarding needs to be archived, and that's just the most efficient way to do it. Like, that photo that's been ripped out of a magazine that's been put on someone's wall, it'll, like, I go home, I still have ridiculous photos that I've ripped out from magazines. It will be there forever. And try and look for like that old like Krell Park clip that was like on QuickTime. Remember when we watched videos on QuickTime? What the fuck? Where are they? Like, that's the whole thing basically. The magazines will last forever unless they get ripped up to be like roached or something. But yeah.
Yeah.
Because Christian, with Jenkem, obviously it's online, but you also do some print projects.
Right. We've kind of moved backwards from web only to trying to enter the tangibles world, which, I mean, maybe from your perspective, that's an idiotic idea, but I think that, you know, print's incredibly important because, for one, it's just cool to hold something in your hands that's not a device, that's not a phone. And also, I think skateboard photography is just an incredibly it's a beautiful art form, and a lot of that gets lost when you put it online, because you're looking at it on a screen that's this big, tiny little pixels here and there, and you really get to see something special when you have a printed photo in the Quiet Leaf or in Free. It's something cool that you can cut out and put on your wall.
Is it also a selfish motivation as well? Like, as a person of print and a photographer, like, you want to see your photos in print, you want to make a magazine, you want to hold it, you want to show it. I know for me, like, it has that sort of selfishness to it in some respect. It might not be about selling 1 million or giving out 10,000 free copies, but more so seeing, as a photographer, seeing your photo in print is epic. Nothing will ever change that.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really doing it for myself now. But it's very important, I think, that I mean, maybe the roles are a bit different for a Thrasher or for a Free or for a Whatnot magazine, because the responsibility is different. And I think for Free, for example, I think it's a necessity to have a hub like that in print form. And another thing I wanted to there's no misunderstanding. Nick, who posed the question, he's the biggest advocate of print ever. So if you're anywhere in the world and you print something, he's probably the first guy who's going to listen to you. So no misunderstandings. Awesome dude. And about the motivation, yeah, if you don't do it partly for yourself, in my case, I wouldn't. What's the point? And because I can't rely on other, I don't know, on feedback and that carries me from this place to that place. But I do. Why do I bother? Because I think it's super cool to create something. And for me personally, it's an outlet. I mean, there's musicians who do the same thing. They maybe press an album. And then there are painters who do stuff on canvas with paint and stuff. And for me, I love to take pictures, and I love to tell a story from my perspective and ask one more question and one more question. And I love to see that documented. And then we started with just, hey, maybe we should do one and then see what it's like. And it was so good. It was really good. So yeah, it's a very personal thing for me. I'm not sure how it's for you guys.
I wanted to kind of like put it this way, because I realize there's probably plenty of you who grew up without the frequency of magazines, right? How many times, we all have these stupid things, right? How many times does this thing piss you off a day? Like thousands, right? You roll through, you're like, that's really annoying. Oh, cool, alt-right post. Why did that happen? Unfollow that idiot. These things, shitty email from work. Mom, stop texting me. Like, these things are the worst. How many times have you picked up a mag that you're like, that looks sick? Sat alone, sat down with it, and we're like, oh, I'm so fucking annoyed with this. You know what I mean? It's like, when you're confused, you put your phone away, go walk in nature, and appreciate what's going on with you. If you actually want to absorb something, you put a physical object in your hand, you immerse yourself in it, and you think about the appreciation that what went into it, you know? And that's the value of it. Like, I've seen cool fly out dude tricks on Instametrogram, and they don't make me happy. You know, like, that shit, I've never gotten any joy out of a post the way I have as seeing a dope photo that I'm going to think about for the rest of my life, or reading an interview with someone that I related to and it made me feel less alone. You know, so that's why I think, I don't know. I know social media has that currency, and I know magazines can piss people off as well, but I think the experience, you know, the actual experience of holding something that a person created, you know, that came from the earth, a tree, unfortunately, like, it's pretty interesting. It's something. It's something that'll lead into the next question. We go over there.
Hi, thank you. I have like a question with two optional answers. So which maybe written piece or image or video or zine have you been most maybe proud of, or has most affected you, or has inspired you the most, or resonated with you the most? Or which story would you most like to tell, and this speaks most to the current moment in skateboarding?
So something that I'm unfortunately obsessed with, besides the way skaters like pants fit or something like that, is climate change and its effects on our community. And it's a difficult thing to write about in skateboarding because, you know, when I think about the topic, the first thing that comes to mind is how sustainable is skateboarding? And, you know, we're cutting down all these maple trees, we're using urethane and all this. And sure, that's destructive, but it's still a very small part of what we're doing. So I think what we need to be, the stories that we need to be telling is kind of not looking at solutions only within the skateboarding industry, but trying to reach outside of this. Is how high are we punching when we're writing these articles? And we can take the industry to task for cutting down maple trees and for using urethane, but that's not going to stop global warming. But something that we can do is incentivize the skateboarding community to be more aware of the effects that climate change is going to have on them. Sort of what spots are going to be underwater? How is the refugee crisis going to affect the way in which the skateboarding world that they know and love and are part of, how is it going to change that? So I think it's just an incredibly important thing to try and leverage the kind of the stubborn persistence of skateboarders to put pressure on people and structures outside of skateboarding. And I think that's a really important story that we need to tell, and something that we kind of haven't done a really good job of in the past, but something that we should do a lot more of.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, Christian. I think that the power of the skate community to take on like systematic change within environmentalism could be the next kind of step for us. I haven't seen much in that, so that's exciting. And Norma, just to go over to you with this question, the kind of where have you seen your work that you're like, that's brilliant, and what stories are in your mind?
I think one of the most proud moments last year, it was when I spoke about collaboration. So last year, a few of us went to Cuba, and it was a combination of talents and forces to create an impact in this community where, like, you know, there's still a lot of sexism and there's a lot of lack of resources there. So a bunch of us went to Cuba, did a little DIY project, which you're gonna see a zine later in the film presentation. And I think that's my most proud moments is when I get to work with other people and when I know that I made an impact. So for us, when going there, I think we left some knowledge and we created an impact with the girls out there, but we also brought some learnings back home. All of us learned something, because you go to these new countries where the situation is totally opposite, like what we're living here, for example. So I try to do community work every year. So that's right now that's been one of the biggest highlights for me, like being able to bring my friends to a third world country and all share our knowledge, but also learn from them. So like all like, you know, like it helps with growing and there and here. So exchanging our talents, you know.
We'll go
Time
back
for
out.
one or two questions left.
Another question? Oh, gosh. Oh, let's go right down to the front here. Yes. It's quite dark.
This question is for the men on the panel. We hear that you want non-traditional skaters, photos, videos, voices represented. And I wanted to know what you're doing to build relationships, trust, support of these scenes. Also, have you recognized the uneven power dynamic where your publication gains credit, yet women and queer skaters in our community are underrepresented under your leadership?
Hello. Yeah, basically, it's kind of what I started saying earlier in the sense that it's free white men spend way too much time with each other. We're aware that we need to do more, and this is exactly why I'm standing right here, and I'm saying, come and talk to me, let's have these conversations, let's see what you guys are doing, and we want to put you guys in the mag, and this is the best thing about skateboarding in 2019, how diverse it is, and when it comes to actually building those relationships, it's, I don't know, speaking to their team managers to make sure they're filming and shooting photos with the right people. Like we're working on someone called Meite Steenhoed. I don't know if you guys know. She's from Belgium, who's like really sick. And it's like making her sometimes step out of her comfort zone and go and meet photographers that we think will make her look like really sick on the kind of spots she likes to skate and that sort of thing. But it's a slow process because, well, one, I don't really know what I'm doing and I'm just here trying to speak to people and making it work. And two, because it's also scary if you're used to skating with a certain crew to go and like shoot and film with someone you're not necessarily mates with and this kind of thing, basically. But yeah, I don't know if that answers it, but it's a pretty hard question. Not at all.
Instead of saying like, come talk to me, why aren't you going and talking to them?
This is, one, this is what I'm doing now, and two, this is exactly what I just told you about reaching out to Meite and being like, okay, we're trying to do something with you, can we link you with this photographer? This is us, this is me reaching out. I don't know what to...
You're asking us to come to you, you're in charge and you make the decisions, but you need to come to us because we aren't welcome in your media.
I literally just told you that I've reached out to someone because I want to feature her in the magazine. I've reached out and I've organized trips so she can get photos with the right filmers and the photographers that we think would do justice to her skating. Obviously, I'm sure we can do more, and this is why I keep saying, let's talk. This is not you come and beg me. This is just a genuine, just let's talk. That's it. There's no power dynamic here.
I think also it's a two-way discussion, isn't it, on both sides? You approaching, but also you open to having these conversations. That's what's so good about pushing borders, is to bring everyone together and we get off these stages and don't just replay what Arthur's saying on the stage. Get over to him or meet in the middle. And it's going back also to what Norma says as well about collaboration. And the fact is that we come together. It's small teams, isn't it? There's three of you. You want to collaborate with people. You're going to collaborate with the easiest people that are close to you. But this is what brings everyone together into the same room and can enlighten and can kind of start these collaborations, which is so important.
I remember a few months ago, Jenkem did a feature on female photographers and filmers. I think it has to be from the communities and from the media, but I think it's also a matter of research. Jenkem did the research and figured out, who are the filmer, the women filmers, the women photographers out there. So I think it's a combination of efforts from both sides. The community is reaching out, but the media also doing more research and what's out there. Because, it's a global thing. So, I understand it's overwhelming, but with social media, I think we all, us as media and you as a community, we all have Instagram and we can all DM each other and we can all research just by hitting the search button. So it shouldn't be that hard. So it's just more we both communicating and
and just be aware that scene does exist. Sometimes I think that actually with that Jenkem piece, I was part of that, and during the interview, I remember the comment of, when we started looking into it, we realized this existed already. And I'm like, yeah, it existed before me. It existed before, way back. It's just about covering that. So I think it is needed to put more of this conversation in. And it is about everyone here being open to these conversations and these sort of pieces, and that's really important. But I think it needs to be done more.
I appreciate you bringing up the Jenkem article, but it's just a really small thing, and I think something that we need to do as a publication that's 3 men in a room together is admit our ignorance. And it's fucked up that the sort of the burden of the education is on you all, but we're dumb. We don't know what it's like to be a woman in skateboarding, and we need help understanding what that's like. And any way in which we can try and rewrite our own sort of misconceptions of what skateboarding was, I think it's better that we try. And we're going to continue to try, and please hold us accountable as much as you can.
I just want to say, I don't have a solution. If I did, I'm not smart enough for that. What I can say is that as long as we have a platform together where we can be held accountable and you can offer a challenging viewpoint, that's going to help rather than fractioning off, and I have no problem that I want to listen, and I personally try to pursue what I like to cover personally is based on interests and people and what excites me, and that's just, there's no bucket for that. But what I do think is important is how do we change things is having a place where you can tell us to fuck off. That's how you change things. If we don't do that, then we're gonna be segregated, you know what I mean? We need that, and we need to be stronger and be yeah, we're so up our own asses, or we're so used to what we do that we're not out looking for other things. And that's our responsibility. Our responsibility isn't just to sit here and be this is what it is, The responsibility is saying, we're given this amazing opportunity where people want to listen. And so we need to have that reflect what you want to listen to, not what we want to listen to, It's not a magazine isn't, or media isn't writing a record so that you can listen to the songs. It's writing a compilation record of everything happening, and curating it, and then promoting it and putting heart behind it. And so there's a question in the back. Oh, you want to follow up on this one? Yeah, go for it.
Is this on? For me personally, I make no effort to okay, that sounds crazy. I grew up in San Francisco. My mom was a social worker in the Tenderloin. If you've ever been there, you know what the Tenderloin's about. So when I was young, I've always been around LGBT. I've had transgender people eating dinner at my house when I was 13. For me, it's just normal. It's kind of just normal life. So growing up in San Francisco, living in New York, you have gay friends, you have lesbian friends, I've been around trans. It's a lifestyle that I already live, so it's not an effort that I have to make. Everybody that comes on my show is organic, and we have relationships, or they're people that I look up to and respect, but it's not something that I'm actively seeking because I already live that lifestyle. So basically, that's the difference between, I don't know the rest of the people on the panel, but that's how I live and how I think, and the people that have been on my show are the ones that say yes. And you should see the list of the people that have said no. So, yeah, I'm not actively seeking those things because I live that. And that's what it is. If it's terrible, I don't know. But that's the truth, so.
I'd like to just add that the vehicle of a magazine is maybe it's different for every magazine, for every title, but usually the vehicle of a magazine is not just what's coming out on print or the web, for that matter. But a lot of times we do actually act as a hub and create opportunities, or I try at least, we try to, all of us, I think, create opportunities, because we're at that hub between any skater, girl, boy, whatever, any skater and maybe a brand or a skate park or whatnot. And I think what we all do is try to bridge gaps and get that notepad out and spur a conversation on. So it's if you only see something because it's presented to you, that's not necessarily all there is. I just want to defend ourselves a little bit maybe and say that we do stuff. It just needs more energy and more engagement from both sides.
I just want to say that we don't all share the same opinion. Like, I don't exactly agree with what you were saying. Just so.
I've had like 13 episodes so far. I've had in those I've had a lesbian, a gay guy, but they're not on the show for those reasons. They're on the show because I love them and I respect them, and that's what I was just trying to say, is that I'm not actively searching that out because it's organic and I already have those relationships, and that's what I was trying to say. Not that I don't know how it got misconstrued. Maybe I'm not making myself clear, but that's all I was just gonna say. I already naturally have those relationships, and those people are already a part of my life. So those are the people that are gonna be on my show.
Lee, you know, you've got your hour podcast or however long it is. You've got your 64 pages. You've got your, so we've got, you can't tell all the stories, but it's great that there is a segment of media that has been on this panel to talk about different sides of skate. This isn't fully representing every single side of skate, and we understand that, and there's a lot more magazines out there, and maybe there's going to be even more magazines in the future that will do this, and it would be great to see more representation and diversity across all the platforms that do exist there. Up to you guys and up to you girls whether that's the case. But this has been a really interesting discussion, and we really thank all the panelists for your time and thoughts, and really urge everyone out there who's heard something that they want to talk more on to approach the panelists and have a good chat and have a coffee afterwards, because this is what this is all about. It's a discussion. And Arthur, so glad you made it on the panel. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add except thank you for being here. And again, if you want to continue conversations or exchange information, just anything, like, we're all hanging out. That's it. Thank you guys. Thank you all. Sorry. Thank you all.